Hello, welcome back to the channel. Now, I get a lot of emails, as you know, and I can't get to answer all of them. I do my best, of course, and at least I try to read them all. And I'd like to just say thank you very much for getting in touch. It's very kind of you. Some people just send links, and I don't always get a chance to look at the videos because they're often quite long, and I'm quite busy, as you'll appreciate. But I would love to say thank you very much for those, and also to say thanks very much for those people who've kindly donated money to keep the channel going. It is greatly appreciated. Today I'm going to have a look at a couple of emails that came in, because sometimes it's just nice to share some of the ideas that people have sent in. I can't do it with everything all the time. And the one that we're going to have a look at now might be of interest to the panel, the live show that we're doing on Fridays, at least for about 3 or 4 more weeks. Live Friday shows with the Lawful Remedy. These are guys and girls who have experience of sovereignty. They know the difference between legal and lawful and are there to help answer your questions in a live situation. We did one last week. You may remember it. If you didn't, then I'll leave the link in the description. Do check it out. And we do it from 6 in the evening, UK time, till 8 o'clock. A 2-hour show. Karen Dodd from the Freedom Network is here in the studio with me, and we have a panel online. So we'll be doing that tomorrow, which will be the 15th of March, today being Thursday. You may, of course, be watching this in a completely different time, so you'll have to work that bit out. Anyway, the 2 emails we're going to have a look at today. Firstly, this one is about smart meters. Are you worried about having a smart meter shoved into your house and told that you've got to have it? And do you know whether the radiation coming from the Wi-Fi is actually affecting you? And who's liable for that? If you get radiated or feel that you're having headaches or possibly worse, skin complaints, or maybe even death as a result of having this radiation which you can't turn off, then who's liable for it? There's a question that we need to answer. But that's not the question on the email today. Let's have a look at it. This is from a lady called Julia, not the lovely Julia, but a different one, who wrote in, says, I have 2 questions. So here's question 1. Utility Warehouse emailed me that they now have to replace my normal meters with smart meters as they are too old and may not be working properly anymore. Yeah, we've heard that a few times from a number of people. Help again. How to respond, please. I have held them off for this for a long time. So that is the question. How do you tell them? Well, I mean, you could tell them, I suppose, that you suffer from radiation poisoning and that you couldn't possibly have something in the house because it makes you ill. You could say that it's dangerous to you. Now, I don't know if you've done that, of course, but I would definitely go on the health benefit and ask them for their liability insurance details. Because if they can't provide who is liable, if I have a problem, I end up in hospital, or perhaps if I am damaged, who do I sue? Ask them that question. They may well decide, actually, do you know what? We don't want to have that problem. We won't give you them. So that would be the first thing. Let's see what the second question is. Now, that's not legal advice or anything. That, to me, is just plain common sense. Second question is, when I contact the utility warehouse, which I have gas, electric, phone, and broadband in the past, when I raised a query on their portal with my membership number, email, name, they would reply. Now I get data protection replies. For example, today I told them I didn't want a smart meter, but they need my data all the time. So she's just trying to get through the normal portal, and suddenly she's come up against this barrier. So their reply was, and here you can see it in red, it's, this email address isn't on the account you've mentioned, I'm afraid. For security, please can you confirm 2 pieces of information from the list below? And we get these normal things: account password, your date of birth, the email address on the account, the last 4 numbers of your bank account, or the sort code, or for an active direct debit, the name of the partner who signed you up, or the year that you joined. And it goes on. Once we get this, we'll be able to look into your query for you. So I told them, she goes on, that this is my only email and that I didn't need it then when I had to give all this other data. The reply comes back. Dear Julia, it says, thanks for getting in touch. Unfortunately, Due to new data protection regulations, we're unable to discuss account details unless all correspondence is signed off with your full name so that we can verify your identity. Please, can you confirm your full name and answer 2 of the questions below? And here we go. Again, account details, date of birth, email address on the account, last 4 numbers, blah, blah, blah. You can see. Once we get this, they say we'll be able to look into the query for you. I'll be happy to help you. If you've got any questions, you can reach me by replying to this email. Now, she says, to me, this sounds very invasive and over the top. Have you covered this? Do I need to reply with all my personal detail, even for small questions to them? I'd love you to cover this. Take care, from Julia. Now, as I say, it's not the lovely Julia, of course. This is a different Julia, who I'm sure is equally lovely. However, it is interesting, isn't it? We're continually being asked for our personal data for this so-called data protection nonsense. And all you're asking is, here's a broad question. It could account to anyone. It doesn't need to be specific to me. Do I have to have a smart meter, or I'm letting you know I don't want one? And yet you have to go through this rigmarole. Now, when this sort of thing comes to me, and as I emailed her back somewhat cheekily, I said, look, I would ask them for the details. I would get in touch with them and say, now, listen, I've got this important stuff, but before we go any further, could you give me, please, your full name, your date of birth, your home address, and other relevant bits of detail? Can I have your sort code, the last numbers on your credit card, and all of that? Because I'm sure that they would go, no, why would you want that? Well, why do you want it from me? I would just turn the tables around, so I'm not going to engage with you. I'm not going to pay your bills unless you actually give me the personal detail. I need to verify who you are. You could be anybody. I'm not handing over this information to anybody. And if you've already got an agreement with him and it's working in the past, then why do you need to do it? Why not just have a simple code word? I think that many of these companies do that. So I don't know. But this is the sort of question. Do we have to hand over our data in order to contact these utility companies in this invasive way? And this will be a question that possibly will be on tomorrow's show with my lawful remedy people, the clever clogs, as we've nicknamed them. So that could be quite interesting. If you've got any thoughts on that, it'd be lovely to hear them in the comments. Help Julia out, because perhaps we don't need to do that. I had a letter from the water company where I am, and they said we'd had a data breach. Unfortunately, your details have been hacked into. Including, now I was paying by direct debit, and I very rarely do direct debit. I very rarely do it, but it seemed that for some reason, for years and years and years, I'd had this direct debit, and there it was. So I thought, blimey, in that case, I will stop the direct debit, because I don't want whatever data they've got to affect me. So I stopped the direct debit. Within 3 days, I had a little chit come through. And it said, please now, can you pay the full amount? Your bank has told us you don't want to pay by direct debit. So I looked at that, and I remembered an interview with Mike Holt in Australia about common law. And he'd said, just put on there that I accept this chit, this gyro it was, as money. And sign it, and honourably, there's a little procedure. And sign all of that and send it back to them and say, I accept this as money. Now take it out of this account and go and pay it off. And I did it. And so far, I've not heard back from them. I'm waiting for the legal team to go, what do we do with it? But they may actually just accept this as money. I think effectively what I've done is I've turned it into a promissory note. But we'll see. Anyway, that was that email. Let's move on to the next one, which is a curious one, and we'll see where we go with this. This is from a chap called Brian, and he says the following. He says, Richard, I watched your piece on government fraud, and although it was refreshing to see, it only scratches the surface in that the fraud covers everything we think we own, as well as our rights and freedoms. I want you to go into Beta Company's house and pick any company, go to directors, and 100% of those will have their surnames all in caps. Same as all title deeds, bank accounts, ID documents, V5 documents, and all illegal documents, etc. HMRC may alter your details and include Mr. and Mrs., but they cannot accept your name as being just Joe Bloggs, as that is you, not Mr. capitalized Joe Bloggs, as that corporate entity was created by the fraudulent registration process, the birth certificate registration. The establishment elite do have well over £30 trillion in British overseas territories. That is just a number on computer databases secured by all property we think we own. I can provide evidence against the government, councils, law society, courts and police where I have challenged and stopped illegal corrupt court processes by countering with a fraud allegation. Well, Brian, I'd love to see that evidence that you've got. That would be absolutely fascinating. So I thought it would be quite fun to go then and find out what Beta Company House is. I know what Company House is, and here you can see in the Google search Companies House, and then underneath you've got a number of things. So there's Beta Services, which I wasn't quite sure what that was. I went on there to see what it was, but that seems to be a separate company altogether. And you can see actually it's dissolved in 2021, private company, so that hasn't helped. Companies House we've been into, so I don't know quite what that is, this Beta Companies House. However, if you come down here, it says people ask, what is Beta Companies House? And I think it's just the Companies House website that we do use that is still out there, because it says it's a new service that gives access to 170 million company records. So that's interesting. Companies House published 22nd of June. That was 2015. So this has been running for nearly 10 years, 9 years, as you can see. So I just wonder if this Beta Companies House is just what we think of as Companies House. But he's quite right. You can search here. So if we search, as he said, Joe Blogs, let's put that in live as we do this. And you can see that there is actually companies called Joe Blogs Limited, Joe Blogs, and then there's all sorts of Joe Blogs pipe fitters and all sorts of things. If we just take one at random, Joe Blogs Gin, for example. This is dissolved. Let's find one that isn't dissolved. They all look like they've dissolved along here. A lot of companies, there's a lot of dissolving going on, but we've got loads. Here we are, the Blogs Limited. Let's go there and have a look. So you can look up any company, it seems, on Companies House. We've done this before. You can see when they're incorporated. But the bit that we were interested is the people. And as you can see, here we go. People who are part of it, Christopher Paul, or Paul Christopher, blog, and you can see he has been put in capitalized letters. Now, we've talked about this many times. It looks like his wife is also in there. Is that their real name? Maybe it is. And then we can see that they've been put into capitalization. And I think that's what he was going on about. Now, we've known about that. That is the corporate name. That is the legal fiction. That is not us, is it? We're not a piece of paper. We're not a name in capitalization. We are living men and living women. And people are slowly, I think, the audience is slowly getting to understand that we are not that name. Even though that name's been registered into a limited company, we are, I suppose, on our driving license and our passports and on our utility bills, it's all in that capitalization. And that is then an implied company. It's not a real living, breathing man or woman with blood and skin and breath and a heart that beats, or a soul inside this meat flesh, this meat body as they call it. It is just a name that has, and everything's in capital. Have you noticed that? Of course you have, because you've been watching this channel for so long. So anyway, Brian, I'd be interested to know what other evidence you've got and where that takes us, and what the difference then is between this Beta Companies House and Companies House, and whether that is one and the same thing, which I'm beginning to think is. But anyway, there we go. Interesting. So tomorrow, the Legal Remedy will be on, and do tune in at 6 o'clock live on this channel. And it goes on till 8 p.m. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that's been of interest. Put your messages in the comments. That would be good, and we'll find out what you know if you know more, which I'm sure you do. Till next time, bye for now.